Mike, let's switch gears, talk a little Eagles football. Training camp is officially open. There's a lot of optimism about the Birds heading into camp and the preseason and then the regular season. Is this team going to be pretty good?
I think they are, Chet. You know, as I wrote the other day, it would be surprising if this team made a deep run in the playoffs and even reached the Super Bowl, but it would only be so surprising because it looks to me on paper that they've got everything that you need to be a really good team, with the obvious question marks. You know, how good is Jalen Hurts going to be? How much of an improvement can he make as a passer? What are we going to see from Jonathan Gannon? But he certainly has more weapons on the defensive side of the ball to deploy. Look, they made a lot of additions in the offseason that should help them. They have a good young core of players who appear to be improving. Guys like Jordan Mailata. You know, that offensive line is the best in the NFL, I think. I think there's reason to be optimistic this year. And I didn't even mention the fact that their schedule is, looks like to be full of cupcakes. I mean, if they don't come out of the chute 4-0, people are going to be disappointed, and rightly so. Look at that early schedule, starting with the Lions in Detroit and going from there. So I think there's reason to be optimistic. And being there at camp today for the opening, you can get a decent sense of things. Not everything at training camp matters, but a general look of the, lay of the land and talking to people. And I think there is reason to be optimistic about the Birds this year.
Well, Mike, I think it's going to behoove Nick Sirianni to see how he operates this offense and take some of that pressure off of Jalen Hurts with all the weapons that he has. And I think calling plays and doing the right things to not put the game on Hurts' shoulders, especially early in the season, is going to be key.
Well, here's the thing, Bill. They did that in the second half of last season, and it worked.
Mm-hmm.
But they did it because they had to, because they were throwing the ball a ton in the early part of the season, and it wasn't going well. Hurts, putting Hurts at the centerpiece of the offense, it wasn't working. And while I agree with you that maybe this team, in its best iteration, runs the ball, 55 to 60% of the time, here's the thing. The Eagles didn't sign Dallas Goedert to a lucrative extension, and they didn't draft Devontae Smith last year in the first round, and they didn't trade draft picks to the Tennessee Titans to get a star receiver in A.J. Brown to have Jalen Hurts turn around and hand the ball off to Miles Sanders and maybe Jordan Howard or Kenneth Gainwell. They want to throw the ball. That's what they believe in. That's what Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman believe in. I think that's what Nick Sirianni believes in. So while I agree with you that their running game could be tremendous, they don't want to have to do what they did last year again. They want to throw the ball, and that's going to put Jalen Hurts under the microscope. It's interesting. Like, we just had this story break this week with Kyler Murray in Arizona, right, about this clause in his contract that he has to bear. The Cardinals are mandating that he bear down and study the playbook and study film and all of that. You don't have to worry about that with Jalen Hurts. He's got all the intangibles. The locker room loves him. They respect him. He's a leader. The problem is the stuff that he has to do as kind of a conventional NFL quarterback. Can he drop back, find a receiver, stay in the pocket, throw the ball in the middle of the field? Because Kyler Murray can do all those things. He just apparently gets too distracted by video games. So it's an interesting situation the Eagles have, and it's going to be fascinating to see how Hurts performs this season.
I make sure Bill studies at least 10 hours of film before our show every single week, Mike, just so you know.
You're a hard-driving son of a gun, Chet.
Well, you got to do what you got to do.
Well, you see, so, I was playing, I was studying for the bonus, Mike.
Yeah, there you go.
So Eagles and Cowboys are probably going to battle it out for the division. What do you think, Mike? 10, 11 wins for the Birds?
I mean, they went 9-8 last season, and they're better this season. So I think anything under 10 wins at a minimum is a disappointment. Even 10 wins would be something of a disappointment, I think. As I said, their schedule is soft. The Giants aren't good. Washington isn't good, even with the addition of Carson Wentz. So, yeah, I think they should be an 11-12 win team based on their schedule, their offensive and defensive lines, and their skilled personnel. The wiggle room is what Hurts and Gannon are going to provide, right? Like, that's going to be the thing, because they should be able to get to the quarterback. They didn't have a whole lot of sacks last season. They didn't create turnovers, didn't pressure opposing quarterbacks much. They've got different personnel now to be able to do that, more depth in the defensive line, Hassan Reddick, multiple fronts, all those sorts of things. I think you're looking at a 12-win team unless major injury or, Nick Sirianni or the coaching staff or Jalen Hurts really just proves that they're not ready for prime time.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mike. And, the other thing back on Hurts for just a second, I think to your point, I fully agree with you from last year's situation, but I think they've got so many more weapons this year with A.J. Brown and another year with Devontae Smith. I just think, if Quez Watkins is the worst receiver you have on the field, I think you got a chance to be pretty good.
Yeah, he's a great name. He actually had a terrific back shoulder catch today at camp. Nice throw from Hurts. I'm a big Quez Watkins guy, and I think you're right. Having somebody with his kind of speed in the slot as your third receiver, and even with the versatility to be able to line up wide if you need him to, he's kind of a sleeper candidate for me for a really vital, interesting, and potentially explosive player in this offense.